What's poppin' YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Astro with Finesse. It's your boy Lil Finesse, your jiggy hippie, back with another video for y'all. And this video right here is if your Saturn is in the sign of Gemini, and also if it's in the third house, you resonate with this video. And I'll pause for the cause. If you don't know how to find your Saturn sign, if you're a new subscriber, if you're just starting off your journey of self-love, self-knowledge, self-understanding, if you don't understand why it's so important to study yourself and to learn about yourself through astrology and numerology, don't worry, I got you. There's a couple of videos. I put the link in the description. You have to watch them first to become hip to the knowledge of what I'm about to talk about right now. So if you look at your birth chart or your natal chart, it's the same thing. And you realize that your Saturn is in the sign of Gemini or in the third house, this video is for you. So without further ado, let's just get it poppin', shout. Now you already know, before I start, I'm gonna give y'all a list of some celebrities so y'all can visually see what Saturn and Gemini people look like and act like in reality. So to start, we got Eminem, Cameron Diaz, Billie Eilish, Jimi Hendrix, Mick Jagger, Kate Moss, Snoop Dogg, Eva Mendes, Jada Pinkett Smith, your boy Notorious B.I.G., rest in peace, Shaquille O'Neal, Missy Elliott, and Idris Elba. Alright, so boom, Saturn in Gemini. So first of all, what does Saturn mean? What does Saturn represent in your chart? Saturn is the planet that represents discipline. Saturn is the planet that represents restrictions, boundaries. It's like the father figure in astrology. So it's like forcing you to learn your lessons, forcing you to overcome obstacles. And at the end, when you have learned, when you have done the work, when you have grinded, it will bless you with what you have been restricted from. So Saturn in your chart restricts you from the energy that it's in. So you're forced to know, like, damn, so I really am struggling in this area in life. So it forces you to work on this area in life. And as Saturn comes around, when your Saturn return comes around, it blesses you with what it has restricted you from, if you have been working on these things. And to start, my Saturn is personally conjunct with the sign of Mercury, so I can relate to y'all big time with this placement. When a sign is conjunct, that just means that when you look at your chart in the houses, when you see planets in the same houses, that means they're conjunct with each other. They're like together. So the energy is going to be merged together. You're going to put it's like I said, astrology is putting the puzzle pieces. Like I said, astrology is putting the puzzle pieces together. So when a sign is conjunct, you're just going to take that energy, the two planets, and put the energies together. So my Saturn is conjunct Mercury. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So I could relate having a Saturn. I could relate to y'all having this placement. So all in all, basically, like I said, Saturn restricts you and gives you boundaries in wherever it's sitting in, wherever energy is in, whatever house it's in, wherever sign it's in. It basically covers it up and holds it down and puts boundaries in your way, puts obstacles in your way, and restricts you from this energy. So now what does it mean having Saturn in the sign of Gemini? We all know Gemini naturally likes to communicate. Gemini naturally has a gift of gab. Gemini naturally likes to do a lot of things at one time, especially mentally, likes to keep their mind stimulated, likes to move very fast mentally, likes to do a lot of things, multitasking. And now what Saturn does with this placement is usually in the beginning, like earlier years, your childhood, Saturn is going to like block and put boundaries on your communication. The third house also represents, like, you know, siblings, your short commute, your community around you. So it could put blockages on the way you interact with your siblings, the way you interact with people around you, like immediate people around you, your community. It could put boundaries on short-term travel, because Gemini is opposite of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about the long-term travel and expansion and the broad-mindedness kind of thing. And Gemini is all about the short-term travel and like people around you, community-wise. So it puts boundaries on this aspect in your life. But especially, I'll start off with your communication. A lot of times with this placement, you will realize in your younger years, you will come off like you don't want to talk to nobody, or you're just very quiet. People look at you not talking, not speaking, and they think that you're not smart, or they could think that you don't know anything, or you're just like you kind of have a reputation for like being like kind of dumb a little bit because you're not speaking. But in your mind, in your head, you actually, what Saturn does with in the sign of Gemini is it actually slows down the Gemini energy of trying to do everything quickly. It slows it down so you can actually have a really good grasp on getting information, a really good grasp on words. You could be really punctual. You could be really like smart when it comes to words. But what the sign Saturn does in this placement is it makes you overthink a lot, makes you overthink yourself a lot when it comes to expressing yourself through communication. So even though over time, when the Saturn comes back around, when you have worked on these things, even though over time you become a master at communication, in the earlier years of life, you will always second guess yourself when it comes to speaking up. You will second guess yourself when it comes to expressing yourself freely, because most likely in this placement in your childhood, when you wanted to speak up, when you wanted to express yourself, you got restricted for somebody in your household, from a parent, a sibling, for anybody that was really around you at that age. You probably got restricted. You probably got told not to talk. You probably got told not to say or think the way you think, say what you think. So that feeling of you trying to speak up, trying to say something, and somebody restricting you, somebody putting a boundary in your face, you just feeling rejected from what you're saying. You can learn from that and be like, all right, so every time I want to speak up, every time I want to talk, I get restricted. So now I'm just not going to talk. Now I'm not going to freely express myself. Even though a lot of times with this placement, you will have a lot of very intelligent things to say, but because Saturn is going to put that boundary on your sense of communication, your sense of expressing yourself freely, a lot of times you will just not even talk. Like I said, Gemini, the third house, is all about the community, people around you. So these people don't really like small talk a lot because they take everything in their mind, the mental communication, they take all that very seriously. Saturn is a very serious planet. It's a very disciplinarian planet. So when it's in this sign, when it's in this energy, it makes you take your words and everything that you think very seriously. That means that you don't like to just to talk, like the small talk. Small talking is like when you're talking and the conversation doesn't really have like any depth to it. You're just talking just to like, so how's the weather? Or like, so did you see that show last night? Like things that have like no depth to it. When it comes to that, a lot of times with this placement, instead of like actually talking the small talk, you will be overthinking like, all right, so what should I say? Or the next thing I'm going to say, is it going to be intellectual? Am I going to speak it right? You're going to be always like second guessing yourself and always thinking heavy about what you're going to say when it comes to expressing yourself. Saturn makes you always like think twice about what you say. You're always very meticulous and very well planned out when it comes to communication and what you say. So in the beginning of your Saturn return, in the beginning of life, during your childhood, also you could have had like speech impediments or things that made it hard for you to speak in the beginning of childhood. And this is what Saturn wants to teach you, wants to show you, wants to teach you that, all right, so you have to really work on your really work on your communication skills, really work on knowing how to express yourself freely. You have to get over this fear of thinking like, I know the answer to this question. I know what I know. Like I know I'm very intellectual. I know I'm very smart, but I'm afraid that I'll come off a certain way. I'm afraid that I might stutter. I'm afraid that I might not be, but what I'm saying, people might not understand me. Like that fear that Saturn will put on top of you, that fear that Saturn will put that boundary on top of you when it comes to expressing yourself, can lead you not to be able to really speak freely as you should as a person. So what Saturn does is it forces you by putting boundaries in your face. It forces you by putting restrictions in the beginning of your life, childhood, going on to before your Saturn return. Things you got to work on is your communication. So put boundaries on top of you to force you to learn how to really freely express yourself. With this placement, y'all will be very punctual. Like y'all will take, like when it comes to writing, texting, anything like that, y'all take words, communication very seriously. So people might look at you like you don't know anything because you're very quiet or you're not trying to talk right now. People might look at you like this person doesn't say nothing, like what's wrong with them? At the same time, your listening skills is A1 because y'all are very analytical like that. Y'all take things very seriously when it comes to communication. So you might not be talking, but you're hearing everything, you're peeping everything, you're taking in information very well. You very like compartmentalize information. It forces you to take the information and really slows it down, allows you to break it down, and really allows you to really grasp the information. So with this placement, you're going to be very smart during like the later, after Saturn comes back around, and Saturn comes back around, for those who don't know, Saturn return takes like 28 years for Saturn to come back around. So around the age of 30, you will really feel like a Saturn return. But before that, you will be skeptical about expressing yourself, even though the blessings that Saturn will give you when the Saturn comes back around, if you have been working on these self-expression issues, the communication issues, what will happen is, because y'all so good at listening, because y'all so good at taking information and compartmentalizing it and allowing yourself to really know the seriousness of words and really look for the depth of things, not just looking for the shallowness or the small talk of information, but like really allows you to dig deep on what's really important in words, y'all will actually become masters at communication. Y'all will actually become masters at speaking. People look at you like, damn, so I didn't know that this person is so quiet, but when I actually talk to them, they actually have a lot of knowledge. They're actually very intellectual, very smart. They actually take in information very well. Saturn in the third house, Saturn in Gemini, can lead you having like problems in school in their early life, problems like studying when it comes to the traditional ways of learning in school. Even though y'all will be obsessed with like learning by yourself, you like to have like your own solitude. You don't really like a lot of communication or people around you when it comes to learning something, because you take things very seriously like that. So even though you might have problems learning the way school wants you to learn, you will always find yourself self-teaching yourself things, learning things by yourself, your own way. And the way you grasp that information, you'll be very good at communicating that out, especially after you worked on this and Saturn has come back around. And these people can become tremendously great teachers, tremendously great public speakers. Like, you will be blessed with the communication of expressing yourself. You'll be blessed to knowing how to use your words. When you're teaching people things, you won't be talking just to talk. You actually get straight to the point and actually tell people and teach people what really matters in the subject you're teaching. Like, you'll be very good at speaking when Saturn comes back around. So in the beginning of your life, understand that these tribulations, these trials, these boundaries of your communication, these boundaries of the way you could deal with your siblings, these boundaries when it comes to like short trips, when it comes to short traveling, like, you know, getting your license could become like a little later on in life. Driving, you could have like a lot of troubles when it comes to driving short distances. Like, these little boundaries and all these things are put upon you so that after you've learned it and after you master these things, you will be actually very good at speaking. People actually want to hear you talk. People actually love hearing you talk. Even though in your mind you're like, I've always had a problem with speaking. I really don't like my voice. So I don't like when I talk. I don't like the way I stutter. Like, you have all these internal struggles when it comes to speaking, but the people around you and your environment, because Saturn forces you to actually pay attention to your environment, third house, your immediate environment. People around you would be like, yo, can you teach me this? I actually like the way you explain it. Yo, can you like talk to me about this? Like, they actually want to hear you talk, and they actually admire the way you speak, because you will take in a lot of information, like I said, and you're very good at compartmentalizing it. You're good at studying things your own way. You're good at memorizing things and actually learning things your own way. And you'll be good at communicating it out and teaching people and speaking after Saturn has come back around. So understand that if you're having like communication problems right now, if you're not really confident when it comes to speaking up, when you're not really confident when it comes to speaking, you want to practice this. Try writing, become good at writing, because y'all are, like I said, extremely punctual, very good at words. So try to write, make like a podcast. Like, for me, my Saturn conjunct Mercury, this YouTube channel for me speaking like that, and y'all probably hear me like stutter over my words all the time and all that, but all this is like practice and like helping me to learn how to express myself through my words, and all this will help you. So when Saturn comes back around, you will realize, like, even though I was really bad at talking before, now I'm actually extremely talented at this. Now I'm actually very good at this. Now I actually have I've mastered the trait of communication. I've mastered this trait of using my words. I've mastered the trait of having a self-expression. So try your hardest to express yourself in any way possible, through writing, through art. Just really be free to really get the fear out your mind of like, damn, I'm so scared that I'm going to be judged. I'm so scared that I'm going to be criticized. Get that fear out your mind and just express yourself. That's what Saturn is trying to teach you. And when Saturn watches you and like, all right, so that person has been learning a lesson. That person has been like paying attention. That person has been studying. That person has been working on this restriction. When Saturn return comes around, he will let off that restriction and you'll be blessed with becoming masters at communication, becoming masters in this area in your life. So that's my video on Saturn and Gemini. I hope y'all enjoyed that. My next video is going to be on Saturn and Cancer. You already know I'm about to go in. If you have subscribed to my channel, appreciate all y'all for real. If you haven't subscribed yet though, go ahead and handle that one time for your boy. Drink your water, mind your business, and be safe out here. It's your boy Lil Finesse Jiggy Hippie. I'm going to see all y'all when I see y'all. Peace.